Okay, so we have a game here against Norris playing black. 2096. I believe this is our highest rated opponent so far. We're going to go with, let's go with d4 again. I have a question about playing against white, so I like to play the Sicilian. I've noticed whenever I play the Sicilian, people play bishop c4 and they position the king bishop forward. In a case like that, if they don't ever play d4, if they play like e4, c5, bishop c4, and they never play d4, usually you just want to try to grab as much space in the center as you can. Doesn't really have a specific opening name, but play something like e6 and then d5 pretty soon. Attack the bishop and gain space in the center. e6 and d5. Alright, so this is the Nimzo-Indian defense. This is revolving around black trying to control these light squares in the center of the board as much as possible. I'm going to play a3 to kick the bishop, and we get the 2-bishop advantage. We're behind on development a little bit, but we do have the 2-bishop advantage and extra space in the center. So that's kind of the main battle in this position. I fianchetto the bishop on g2 to counteract his on b7. And he plays c5. Okay, perfectly fine. We're going to play b3. We're going to fianchetto the other bishop on b2 is the idea, probably. Alright, he plays d5. I don't really want to let him take on c4 and mess up my pawn structure and give me an isolated c and a pawn. For example, rook c. If I did rook d1, he takes, queen takes, takes. I have isolated pawns. So we're just going to take here. He's probably going to take back with his knight, I would assume. And we'll just drop back to d2. We'll play e4 pretty soon, most likely. If he takes the pawn, we'll play queen takes and threaten mate. So he retreats, okay. We're just going to play rook to d1. He stops our e4 move, which is good to do. So we're just going to play rook d1. Queen e7. Probably just take it, I think, is okay. If knight takes, I'll play b4. Oh, no, I won't play b4. Ooh, b4, knight b3 would be really bad. So I have to guard this pawn. Whoops, I probably should just have played rook c1 first. Now we're in a little bit of a sticky spot. I think we can just play queen to e3. Knight d4 also is okay, I think. Knight d4, e5, knight f5. Should be okay. Yeah, that should be fine. So we'll go knight d4. If knight d4, though, he trades off the bishops. Not my favorite idea in the world. Queen b4 is possible, too, though. Queen b4, no, he plays knight d5. Kind of a weird spot we've put ourselves in. Yeah, I think we're just going to go knight d4 here. This isn't so good. He's going to take, check, and then e5, I think. Or e5, knight f5, check, and then take b3. We'll see, though. I'm going to play b4 next move if I can. Alright, knight f5. If he checks, we just retreat. If he takes the pawn, we have queen g5 actually at the end of this. Queen g5 threatening mate. This actually turns the tables quite a bit. He's got to guard this g7 pawn. It's really not that easy. If he plays g6, I'm going to take the knight. He plays knight e8. I think I can just play knight e7 check, though. As should be okay. Bishop takes e5. Is that an idea? I think knight e7 is okay, though. Pick up the rook on c8. If he takes mine on a1, then I'll play like rook d8, and his knight's pinned. I think rook d8 works out well here. Queen takes e5, is that anything? Queen e7. Queen takes knight b3, rook d8. f6, knight d5, rook g8. Queen d8 is also possible. Rook c1, you think I miss mate? I hope not, but I wouldn't. It could be possible. All right, we're gonna put the queen here and play rook d7. We're threatening the bishop. Or I'm sorry, we're threatening the knight right now. We're also threatening knight to d6. Maybe. Let's just play rook d7. And then rook e7 next move, probably. Yep, time. Gotta play a little quicker here. Yep, definitely true. Just gonna grab that. I don't think there's any perpetual checks or anything. If he plays king g8, I'm gonna go back to 97 check. Next is knight takes a7, probably. If he plays 96, I'll play queen d7 and trade off queens. I don't think I've missed anything, but I'll find out. Time management, yeah, gotta play. It's a little tricky in these complicated positions, but it's also a little tricky for him too. So the queen has to keep guarding the knight. The knight can't move because of the pin, but my queen also has to guard my knight, and it's kind of a pins and needles type position here. If he goes 96, I'll play queen d7. I think is the idea. It's more of a consequence of streaming and playing more so than because I'm trying to talk and explain myself at the same time. If I was just playing without explaining myself, then I'd be playing quicker for sure. I'm quite good at bullets, so as you can see, that's part of it. All right, so we're just retreating that guy. We're taking that. So I think we're back even in material, from what I can tell. And I feel like white should be a little bit better here at the end of the day. Just because of the bishop versus the knight. And his b6 pawn is kind of weak, so maybe rook d6 next move. And his back rank is pretty weak. So knight c6 next move, most likely. I think we'll play e4 just to grab some space. I think we're going to check here. Knight d5, we're going to grab b6 most likely. Let's go here to keep that guarded. Let's go knight d5. Bishop c3. Let's go here. If he takes the pawn, I think I can get away with taking this. I'm going to grab c2 pretty soon. He can check here, though. Yeah, maybe this isn't so hot. Okay, we got to go here. Pick up the pawn. Probably a draw at the end of the day, I'm going to say. Not guaranteed by any means, but could. Ooh, let's not lose the rook. That'd be bad. Let's go advance the king. Push the pawn. Go back over here. I want to keep my rook cutting off his king from advancing. Definitely. Next is king f5 to g6, maybe? Ooh, can't do that. Let's go in this direction. g4. Alright, this should definitely be a draw. Yeah, this is an offer a draw here. Whoa. Alright, take that. This is definitely a draw now. I'm not letting you checkmate me. Okay. So it's a draw. I was probably a bit better there. Huh. Getting some interesting games. Okay, well, let's analyze it. And the time factor, of course, and streaming and talking at the same time. A little bit tricky, but definitely not an excuse or anything like that. Okay, so the openings, I've explained how to play this opening as white a few times in the past. It's the playing against the Nimzo Indian defense. He plays c5, which is what he's supposed to do, counterattack the center. b3, rook c8, bishop b2, d5. Take, queen d2, knight f6, rook d1, take. I should not take this just yet. This is what got me in time trouble once I was trying to figure out what to do about this threat. I should just play rook c1 and then maybe take next move or something like that. I think I took a little bit too early, and now it's a little awkward to guard this pawn. If I play b3 or b4, he just hops in and... Whoa, that's not good. Fix the screen. I fixed it. Sorry about that. Let me stretch that a little bit more. Okay, that's pretty close. So he would just hop into b3 and fork my queen and rook, so I can't let him do that. If I play queen e3, he plays knight d5. I go here, he plays f6. Then it's still awkward to guard this pawn. So I figure let's just do it with the knight d4. Take, e5, here, check, here, takes. I'm down a pawn, but after queen to g5, it's a kind of precarious situation for him. Big checkmate threat. Knight e8, I check, here, take. I feel like there should be something pretty good for white here. This knight's almost trapped, and it's my move, and this knight can get out. So I played queen d8, knight b3, rook d7, queen c6. Probably just knight d6. Not sure why I didn't do this. Knight d6, and then just pick up the knight next move. If he takes here, I take this with checkmate. So knight d6, probably best move. I guess he can play knight to c5. Yeah, maybe it's not so easy. Yeah, maybe it's not so easy. It's an interesting game, though. Interesting position. So I took a pawn. I played rook e7, knight e6, queen d7, take, f6, retreat. So I'm back even in material. Actually, I'm up a pawn right now. I'm not even in material. I'm up one pawn. So, not sure why I checked there. I probably should just play rook here and pick up this pawn. Check, king f8, knight d5, takes, rook a, there. So I'm up a pawn here, and yeah, my big mistake was letting him play knight to c5 at this point. I should just play just king g2, seems okay. Or f3 to keep this pawn guarded. Bishop c3 not so great because it allows him to fork and pick up the pawn. It looks like I could get this discovered attack off on his knight, but the problem is, of course if he takes here, I take his knight and I'm up a pawn, but he can check and then get his knight, he can get his knight safe with tempo, and we get a position like this. Knight d3, f4, kicking my my rook around a little bit. g4, probably not even g4. I mean, once I get to this position, though, this is pretty much drawn. If he picks this up, I played check. He should just block, but this should be a draw. We saw a game like this earlier, which was a rook versus knight. This is pretty much the same thing. Rook and knight versus rook is pretty much a draw as well. As long as I don't blunder my rook, it's pretty tough for me to get checkmated. So, yeah, we did okay today, I'd say. Probably one of our